every fact about every subject. He speaks, I don't know how many languages this kid speaks, but he's a genius.
Anton and myself and Bruce Greenwood, who plays Captain Pike, had this chess tournament, and Anton's a little chess genius. I mean, he whipped us both, hands down. Just some of the funniest times I remember was watching Anton beat Bruce, and it's just like, F
Next.
Anton genuinely is Russian, although he doesn't actually speak with an accent. He can speak perfectly fine. But his accent was so perfect.
They're creating a singularity that will consume the planet.
Obviously, he's able to do the accent flawlessly, but had a real issue with the W.
You can imagine that on paper that seems like a kind of a daunting task.
It's a daunting prospect on any level, you know. These characters are so revered and cherished the world over, and people take it very seriously.
Well, they sent me some footage of him. I immediately saw that there was enough resemblance and a load of talent. No problem. Thank you very much, and let's go to work.
Well, we wanted to make sure that he didn't have pressure to impersonate him or to be the same character. This goes back to the premise of the movie, which is that there are slight alterations in the universes from what came before. So this is a new story, and as such, the characters are in situations in which none of the original actors ever found themselves.
If the time continuum was disrupted, our destinies have changed.
We're bringing our own life to them, and we're entering into these characters at a very specific point in their journey. So my Spock and Leonard's Spock are very different people.
On the other hand, the spirit of Leonard's performance as Spock is so clearly present in what Zachary was doing, because they're both very smart guys approaching the same character.
I think he's going to be able to flesh out a lot of areas that were suggested or hinted at, but not totally fleshed out dramatically and emotionally.
I feel anger. Live long and prosper.
Leonard and Zachary met at Comic-Con in San Diego, and it was weird because they look so much alike in some ways.
It was a very sort of surreal moment. They like timed it so I walked in just as he was like getting out of his car, and then we were like all of a sudden just in this elevator. It was like really kind of bizarre to be then. I was like, "Hi, Leonard." And then his first real words to me, he was getting out of the elevator and he was like, "You have no idea what you're in for."
The coolest thing was being backstage, and Mr. Nimoy's wife, Susan, was back there, and she was looking at Zachary, and she said, "This is creepy."
Leonard was incredibly helpful to Zachary in terms of talking him through not just sort of, you know, practical things about ears and eyebrows, but just about sort of what the character meant to him and how to approach it.
Okay, good. How are you? He was incredibly generous with his time and his energy, and that made the initial entry into the preparation a lot easier for me.
When you say fascinating, I'm going to respond with yes. We talked about how I arrived at certain aspects of the character, a certain kind of way of thinking through the thought process of the character, posture, physical posture we talked about.
A lot of the things that we talked about were much more rooted in the psychology of this character and sort of where he comes from and how he looks at things. But I'm very protective of it's interesting because I'm not usually like that, but I feel like a lot of the things that I spoke to Leonard about, I'm really interested in just sort of keeping for myself.
The big hurdle was Chris, because we didn't have Kirk. How do we find someone who will embody this character and be ridiculously funny, ridiculously smart, ridiculously, you know, cocky and outspoken, and make him real?
A lot of people came in, incredible actors, and there was one day we were in casting, JJ and I, and in the waiting room, Zach had showed up, and Chris Pine happened to be there the same day.
I ended up reading with him there with JJ, and I knew right away. I was like, that's the guy. It's just, there's just something about him, you know.
As acting captain of this vessel, I order you to answer the question.
Well, I'm not telling, acting captain.
Chris just came in and just killed it.
Oh, baby, I'm the smartest.
Hey, ladies.
Anything else?
Ultimately, when Chris came in, he so embodied everything we needed Kirk to be. He was both a rebel and, you know, just felt highly unpredictable in a great way.
And more importantly than that, when that person walks onto the bridge of the Enterprise, you need to believe that they have command authority.
Mr. Sulu, prepare to engage thrusters.
I won't lie, it's been incredibly overwhelming to step into the role that Mr. Shatner created. It is such an iconic, specific role in like the canon of film and TV history.
Kirk here.
What's your prognosis, Doctor?
Obviously, William Shatner has a rhythm and a cadence to his dialogue that's so specific, especially as Kirk. And I think the mistake would have been to ask Chris to copy that in some way. So the goal was to figure out what the spirit of Captain Kirk was really all about.
Starfleet Command has ordered us to rescue them, Captain.
I talked to JJ about it in the beginning of the process, and we kind of made a mutual decision that it would be a mistake to try to recreate what Mr. Shatner had done and to kind of forge a new path. And there's certain qualities of Kirk that you can't ignore and that it is in the character, but to try to mimic Mr. Shatner would just be a mistake.
This is Captain James Kirk, Spock, USS Enterprise. True.
Chris Pine isn't good at acting, but he is good at push-ups.
Що зардався?
Chris is he's not all there. Chris is awesome. He's a wonderful actor. He's a great guy. He does a fantastic homage to Shatner, and he can take it till you're laughing yourself silly, or he can take it where you go, that's a tiny bit of Shatner that he's just letting in there to remind us that that's who the guy became. You know, it's fantastic.
Philanthropist. He's really an incredible example of creative exploration through one's life.
We were shooting the final scene at the Academy where Kirk receives his official captaincy.
We were up on this balcony shooting this one particular angle, and there were a few hundred people in the audience.
And JJ sort of leaned over with his mic and said, "Everybody, I'd just like to know that that Leonard Nimoy is here in the house."
Spock himself, Leonard Nimoy, who is here in his house and is going to actually... And he went over the balcony and sort of waved and did the Vulcan, salute.
And all these tired extras kind of turned around and jumped to their feet, and this thunderous ovation. Everybody was just going, it was beautiful. It was really beautiful.
Ladies and gentlemen, this wraps Leonard Nimoy. We all just felt blessed to be given this chance to meet with, work with, and become friendly with this amazing actor. It was a profound experience.
I'm not emotional. I've had a great time, and I have not been looking forward to this day. And I think you've got a wonderful movie here, and I think from the top on down,